I was meant to uplift humankind. I know it sounds really insane to say those words, and I've tried not to say them for 35 years, but it keeps coming out somehow, and especially when I look at the world and I look at people and I go, wait a minute, I'm supposed to do more. And I almost forgot I was supposed to do that until yesterday. I reshared a video, a Wilhelm channeling session from a year ago on this date. And see, it was said in there too. But I also hide from myself. Many of us do. I've hidden from myself for so long, and I couldn't tell you that that's what I was supposed to do in this world. And I couldn't understand why my life was so challenging, why I moved through all the things that I did, and why I healed, and why at 73 I'm very different and I see the world differently. And I shared something the other day saying, I understand who you are, and that didn't make any sense. But you will also see that very few people will see my video. That's how well I've hidden myself. But that's kind of over now. When I recorded um, Beyond Belief with George Nuri last week, I said some of this, so I know it's going to come out later, and it was going to be shown to so many others. And then this morning, I was invited to speak again in October for now 100,000 people. And I knew that George's thing is going to come out in a few months, and that's going to be, what knows, million. And I'm introverted, and I've hidden forever. And I can show you because I want you to know how powerful you are and what you can achieve. Because I know that because I've done it. And so, but what I want is for others to know that. Because I knew that the world was going a little insane because not enough people knew how powerful they were. Not enough people were loving themselves. Not enough people were understanding the great potential that they held within them. And I'm holding on to it, but I couldn't tell you. Then I get up this morning and the video that I see on YouTube is talking about these strange spiritual experiences that chosen ones might have. Now I've run from that forever. I heard things like a chosen one or an old soul. Go, no, I'm not going to be that. See, we all do that to a certain degree. We hide from who we are. See, I know every person born has worth and value and a career and all of that to bring to the world. It's fascinating because the title of that channeling session that I shared yesterday, it says, you were meant to become abundant. And I know that's true for every person, but they have to move through all the old stuff. And that's generational programming and beliefs and ideas that have existed for eons. That's what my guides would say. And so we're moving through this period in our world now where we're supposed to transcend that. And I knew it, but I couldn't tell you. Yesterday, I said I wanted to ask Gaia, because I didn't even ask this before. I didn't know how I got there. I didn't know why they were flying me out. Why are they taking care of me, putting me in the hotel? Why is that happening? And they told me, well, they found me from some guy that I've never even heard of. So somehow he found me. So my hiding wasn't being really successful. But now I'm going to show you a strange experience because I want you to know that you can have these as well. And there are no limits to what you can create or what you can manifest in your life. And I know that. And the more of us who do that, we'll start to see very different lives for ourselves, and then we'll have a very different world. We're all creating the world. It's no one person has more than the other, but it's about us owning what we have to bring to the world. And so I guess I have to be an example. At this age, and you'll hear in that video too that it's brought out there a couple of, if I said a couple of years ago, I finally found myself at 70 or 71 or whatever, but now I'm 73. But let me show you this um, little gift. It is a gift because you can find it. If you go to my website, anyadvicefortoday.com, you will find this message. And it was written on February 19th, 2024. Accepting this message will change your life and the world. Well, see, obviously, I wasn't ready to accept it fully then, but I can put it out there. And it's an ascension gift. So if you go there and read this, because it's several, I'm going to show you what it is, because it's several years. Because they like to say that there is an alignment that exists within us and within the universe. We just have to decide that we're going to become aligned to it. So, but in 1989, this was the first message that I received that told me how terrified I was of what I had. And it said, yes, is it indeed wise for you to realize how powerful you are and also to acknowledge the innate benevolence of your being. You seem to consistently maintain a subtle fear that somehow you would use your power in an ego-oriented way to the detriment of others. The truth for you is exactly the opposite, for the more you gain, you give away. The anger you sense or hostility at times, as you have also been aware of, is not truly directed at others, but merely a reflection of your inner frustration with the intellectual knowledge of your power and your simultaneous restriction of that power, which causes friction. It is everyone's power to do with as they please, and your individual way is becoming more clear and purposeful for you. Be careful of the instilled limitations which would not have you own your worth. Relax and enjoy. Now, that came through for me, but I'm sure that's for everyone because we have instilled limitations, meaning that we don't believe we can accomplish certain things or become certain people. And I know that because this is what I've lived. And for someone like me to have gone through everything that I have, so many dark nights of the soul, there must have been a reason for this. So then, if you go back, then they said, now, I wasn't going to talk about this. In 1989, I'm writing all these things. And as I said on Beyond Belief, I realized I have like 10,000 or more pages of information, which my Wilhelm says they've given me an encyclopedia of personal development, self actualization, and also an ascension guide, which is what this work is. And then I also heard yesterday, and if you listen to that video, it said, it's going to take a year. So they want people to stay in this work for a year. We don't change overnight. This is showing us that it's a process that we move through individually and also our world, because there's a collective consciousness as well. But let me just give you the titles, because when you go back, and I'll leave the link here, but you can go in and read them all, and you'll see it's so cool how it aligns. They just decided to give it to me every February 19th. It is indeed important for you to acknowledge and appreciate what you have already accomplished and give yourself a pat on the back, as it were. That's every person. If we don't realize and accept what we've accomplished as we live, we can't appreciate who we are. Then the next year, you are always seeking to know, experience, and accept your own truth. That's what we have to get to. It's going to be individual for each of us. Then the next one, everything always happens at the right time, in the correct manner, and always yields the perfect results. Yeah, I couldn't have believed that in 2010. Then 2011, healing is experienced as you realign, connect with, or come together with the true nature of your being or your source. Now I can say that everything has been healed. So that message obviously made some sense with all the information because I healed so many crazy things that people found that it was beyond belief, which is what I said on George's show as well. Then the next year, and this is the year where our world shifted again in 2012. Now, I didn't know that I was receiving all of this, but we all know about the Mayan calendar and big changes. But that's when I was actually going on this process. And it says, the present is your gift. And what that means for each person, where we are right now in this moment, this present moment, which is the only place we can operate from, that's our gift. Then the next one, today is the day you get to decide what you desire to create next. That's the process for each of us. We can only do it each and every single day. Then the next year, you always set your own standards of who you desire to be and what you desire to achieve during your physical life experience. That is the recognition that we only live for a certain amount of time. So maybe we should get on with creating what we want to experience, and that ability is within each of us. In the 2015, while you have often heard that patience is a virtue, it is also one of your goals. Uh, when you can become patient with yourself, miracles begin to happen. I do understand that one now. Then next, that feels good is typically what you say after you make any change in your life. See, because we fear making the changes. But then once we jump and make the change, then we feel better because that relief, because the fear is the only thing that holds us back. Then next, mistakes can be good when you decide to recognize them as such. And I have made every mistake on the planet and I own them all because it's like, how can I learn more if I'm not acknowledging them? I just happen to make so many of them. Then next, imagine this. That's the most important thing we can do. Just those two words. You'll read it later. But when we can visualize, because our consciousness is all we have to use to navigate our lives, and that will make sense to you as well. Okay, now the next year, follow our instructions, even though you do not understand it fully now. But you might by the end of this message. That's how I would receive information because I didn't understand it. And we don't understand anything until we take the next step. That is the nature of our consciousness. It's within us individually and also within our world. It depends on how many of us are going to raise our consciousness. That's all. Then 2020, your success is still inevitable if you just do it. That's for each of us. Every single person has something within them that they can bring to the world. And if they do that, they will become successful because that's how God, source, whoever, that's why you were born. And we can say that over and over again, but then the belief takes a little while. Um, no, 20, nothing will stop you once you accept who you are. Wow, this is a long one they gave us that day. And then the next year, you never win. That's because there's nothing to win. We already have it. But we keep fighting against ourselves and others, thinking there's something to win instead of understanding that we were given everything at birth. Then they talk about my work, your in your life operating instructions. They began with the idea of infinite intelligence, knowing that each of us has it. Then, 2023, you were wanted, meaning every single person on the planet is wanted. There's no insignificant beings ever born. It just takes us time to understand our worth and actualize it within ourselves and in the world. So that's what I'm meant to do. That's what you're meant to do. We are all meant to do that. We're meant to uplift humankind when we can accept who we are. But see, mine was a little bit different because the work that I was said was it was for every person. Every soul is born worthy, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, any of that. Every single person has this worth and value. Otherwise, you would not have been born. The only challenge we have is moving through our individual DNA, our individual restrictions, limitations that have existed within us. And then we start to live this different life and we become abundant because we've stopped pushing away the flow, the natural flow of abundance that exists within all of us. But sometimes, like me, you have to be pulled out of it. I have been pulled my entire life because I always had to have a coach or a mentor or someone to show me. But this was something that I could not explain, that I was receiving this information for that many years. The reason that there's a gap between 1988 and 2008 in those messages is because I didn't want you to know. I spent 20 years hiding what I was doing and what it was accomplishing. Many times we hide from ourselves, and that's the only difficulty anyone will have. And I know that because I've seen it. And when I decided to put people in this work, because I doubted every aspect of it, and that I talked about on the show as well, because I'm totally transparent. I doubted it forever. And then I put people through this program, and they changed. But I didn't finish. And that's what I'm doing now. We don't finish sometimes with what we are meant to do because of that fear and the disbelief that we each have. So, but now it's going to be different because I can no longer hide because I'm being pulled out. I'm being called forth. So are you. And that is the one thing that I want everyone to understand, that you were born with value, purpose, and worth. It develops as you decide to uncover and access your authentic self. And then you have the life that you want to have, and we'll start seeing a very, very different world. I'll leave the links to everything in there. So please subscribe to the channel if it's your first time here. You see, I hardly ever say that because that was also a part of my hiding out. I love you all so much. See you soon.